Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I'm back with another video about Mariame Sylla, the woman here, this teacher, the French immersion teacher of Greenbelt, Maryland, who was murdered by this guy, allegedly murdered by this guy, Harold Landon. I just put up a video, and after I put up that video, somebody had asked me a question about her son because her son had been arrested on traffic tickets and he wasn't being given bond. And I'm like, what the heck? Who does that? Are the police looking at him? This is before his arrest as a possible suspect. Is there something, that happened to her because of her son? So they asked me that question. They said, the question was, is he out of jail? And I didn't know. So I did look him up on the Maryland case search and found him there. I couldn't figure out whether he was out or not, but I did see he had a whole lot of problems economically. He had a long list of, shall we say, civil case stuff, which wasn't going well for him. So he was obviously having some financial problems. But while I was there, I looked up this guy and I saw something. I thought, this is where I get so frustrated about information we get on the media. And I want to turn this into an educational look at why when you depend on pieces of information, and that can be from the family, from friends, from the public, from anywhere, you actually sometimes don't know how accurate any of those things are. So the police deal with this all the time. And people get angry sometimes with police investigators, like, why are you looking over here? Why are you doing that? Why didn't you figure this out sooner? Well, it's because they can only work with the information they get. And they can work extremely hard, but people lie. People don't remember. You can look information up in newspapers and find out the newspapers didn't do a proper job. As a matter of fact, I just did a for the Baltimore News people on the case of Rachel Morin. I just did an interview with them, and I always start out an interview by saying, "Tell us your name," and I said, "Pat Brown, PATBROWN." And when the CBS report came out, it was Pam Brown, and I'm like, really? You sent stuff to my email address. It says Pat Brown. I told you I was Pat Brown, and now I'm coming out as Pam Brown. A reporter should do a better job. And I wrote her and said, hey, fix it. And she luckily did fix it. But a lot of times you get misinformation. So this is what the police deal with. This is what a profiler deals with. This is what you, the public, deal with. It's the same problem. Do we know what we're hearing is true? So here's a great example right now. So I just did this video, and one of the things I was talking about in the video was I was curious about why this guy had anything to do with her. Now, supposedly the police at this point, again, they're just saying this, they don't see a connection. The only connection, they could be looking at a connection like some kind of business connection. They could be looking at the son's connection with him. They could be looking at connections. So far, they said they haven't any. So when I read what happened to her, now look what I read. I think this was from People, not that they're a great choice, but still, this is where I found this, and this is what it read. On Friday, Harold Francis Landon III, 33 of University Park, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the death of Mariame Sylla, 59 of Greenbelt, who was reported missing in late July, Prince George's County Police said. All right, University Park. So this is where they said he lived, University Park, Maryland. And I'm thinking, well, what does that have to do with where she lives, which is Greenbelt, Maryland? Now, mind you, there could be a connection, or he can just like driving around a lot. But let's look where it is. All right. Here it is. If you look to your left, you'll see a University Park. And then you'll see that dark. Let's look at the dark blue line. The dark blue line goes from University Park, and it goes over to Shram Hills Park, which is approximately where Ms. Sylla was walking to or walking near when she disappeared. It takes 15 minutes to get there. All right. It's not a million miles away, but it's not right there. So my question was, what's he doing over in Greenbelt. And I said, well, there is a town center. He could be going to the movies. He could be going to the restaurant. He could have friends over there. And I said, there's many reasons. But then when I looked him up on the Maryland case search, I came up with this. Landon Harold III. His date of birth is 1990, so we got the right guy. His address, and this is from 2023. So we're talking about right now. His address is 6709 Springshire Way, Greenbelt, Maryland. Not University Park, Maryland, Greenbelt, Maryland. Now let me show you where that is. All right, that's Springshire Way, right there. Do you see if you go up just a speck, a few houses, you get to Hanover Parkway. And if you go a little bit to the left, you'll see that Shroms Hill Park right there. And Miss Sylla was crossing Hanover Parkway to get into Shroms Hills Park, right where that little circle is. So now you're saying that he's not driving 15 minutes over from University Park for no reason. That guy lives right there. Right there. So what are the chances he's driving out right down Hanover Parkway when he sees her? It's really good. Also, could he know the son? It's possible. I don't know if they have any. No. Again, I don't know if the son has anything to do with this. I'm just pointing out the police are looking at one, just an abduction by a serial killer, or something else was going on. But he lived in Greenbelt. I don't know where the University Park even came from, because I'm seeing what I see is in court records. I don't know where people got that. I don't know if the Prince George's County Police said University Park, but in the records it says Greenbelt right there. Is it possible he just recently moved, just left that spot right after? I mean, this is listed like really recently in the court records. So did he give a different address? Did he have the old address on his driver's license? I don't know. But when I'm looking up where was he at the time she was killed, I'm seeing in Greenbelt, right down the road, right down the road. So this doesn't necessarily change what I said in the last video. I don't know what his motive was. I don't know why he abducted her. She is, by the way, one thing I did find out was that she is one of the things about serial killers is they like small packages. They prefer them small and light. For a number of reasons. One is they're cute little packages. Secondly, it's easy to overpower them. It's easy to abduct them. It's easy to put them in your trunk. It's easy to dispose of them. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. 5'2", 135 pounds is a nice. I'm sorry. Is it 5'5"? Now I'm blanking here. No, I think she's 5'2". She's small. I think it was 5'2", 135. I might be wrong. I'm just blanking now. But she wasn't a big lady. But she had been 6 foot, 200 pounds. He'd probably drive right by because too much to work with. All right. And that's usually when you see a person that size of a female, usually it's a boyfriend who did her in. So she was the right size for a serial killer. And as a lot of people point out, she's quite lovely looking. She's a very, very attractive woman. She's 59. Now, some people will say, well, for 59, she's gorgeous. And maybe a 33-year-old dude thinks she's very hot. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know if she actually looks like this at 59. If you all look at my picture for profiling with Pat Brown, it's one of my better pictures, and a lot of times when I put up my thumbnail, I look a lot better because, there's a thing called a face app, so just because you see a picture of me looking maybe 20 years younger and a whole lot better doesn't mean that's the way I really look in real life. So I honestly don't know, what she looks like. And neither does anybody who hasn't seen her at 59 years old working as a teacher. They don't know what she looks like. She's also dressed very finely in her beautiful African clothes at the moment. And we're talking about a woman who's, maybe she's just, I don't know what she's wearing walking down the street, going for her walk. I don't know if she wore, what kind of clothes she wore, because we're outside the investigation. I don't know what he saw. I don't know if he looked over and said, small woman, not so bad looking, and didn't really care about the age or didn't see age, and grabbed her as a serial killer would. I don't know if there was something else that happened. He had a different motive. It could have been a hate crime. It could have been, somebody said, what about robbery? Well, usually people go for walks, they don't look like they're carrying a bunch of cash with them or anything, but who knows? It's a possibility, but she was abducted, not just hit and things stolen from her. The abduction thing tends to lean away from hate crime. It leans away from robbery. It leans toward serial killer. It does. And the other thing I say is possible is if you're a hired hit and you're supposed to take her away, do something to her. But, that's probably way lower on the likelihood. And again, the police have to look at these things as to what the motive was in this abduction and murder. His history, he did have, I think it's domestic, some violence. Doesn't have a long history that I can find in the state of Maryland. It's just a few things, and they're minor, traffic and domestic. But if he abducted her, if it was a sexual homicide, this dude's a serial killer. What's he been doing for the last 10, 13, 15 years? So then the police are going to have to start looking to see if there's any connections to any other homicides, because he's 33, and you do wonder. Regardless, I'm glad they caught him. Thank God. I don't know if there's any DNA, but they do have pretty good video evidence of him essentially dumping her body, and that works pretty well. And now that I know he lived in Greenbelt, just down the road, it puts him right there, and that's very interesting. But just, again, I wanted to do this right away just because I saw this and thought, there we go again. Misinformation is put out. And a lot of times misinformation, well, it could be information, but it's out of context. There may be more to it. But like when I did the video interview last night, I've done 2 for Baltimore, 2 different stations. It's so frustrating for me because I do a full interview, which is maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but you're only going to get a soundbite that's maybe 30 seconds from me, maybe 2 sound bites that are 30 seconds. And they're going to be taken out of the middle of it. It's not what I wanted to say. It's not what I wanted to get across, but, oh no, this is the way we do things because, we have a short period of time and the reporter has to stand out there with the microphone and say, here we are, we're at this location, da, 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 da. And then they go, profiler Pat Brown has done a profile. And then they show me for a few seconds. And I go, I thought a profile was necessary. And that's why Pat Brown did a profile. It's like, that's what you got out of my interview? So it's frustrating. But a lot of times when we're looking at media interviews, reading anything in the newspaper, you'll see sometimes even like there'll be 3 experts in some article about something, 3 different experts, but you only see 1 line per expert. Those experts gave way more time. And if the media only let them speak, let them give the full information, there might be make more sense. But a lot of times all they do is they grab things and chuck it, and you think what you're getting are facts. They're not facts. They're possibilities of facts. So I don't know where University Park, Maryland came from. Where was it? And they should have explained that. He lives in University Park. How do we know this? What about that Greenbelt address? So they're not doing great research, and they're just grabbing whatever they grab, and then it's probably bastardized and butchered and chucked into an article or onto television or whatever. But it's a good example. It's this simple. It's this really small example, but it's an example of how we sometimes don't get the pieces of information that would actually put things together. And as a profiler and all the detectives out there, that's what they deal with every time they have a case. Tips coming in that are garbage, people telling them stuff that's simply not true. I say they look up information, and that information cannot be quite correct. And they're dealing with all of this when they're trying to put together the case. And this is the kind of thing the defense will come in at some point and start, well, they did this and they did that. I don't know. What were they doing over here? Well, they were trying to figure out what was true and what wasn't. But the defense will tear that all apart and make it look like they're incompetent and that they followed stupid leads and all this kind of stuff. Facts are hard to come by. And understanding those facts is also very, very important. University Park may be a fact, but I don't know when I don't know how. I don't know in relation to him what it had to do with the exact date of the crime. I don't know. But finding out that he lived right down the street from her in Greenbelt, or at least that's what I'm finding, at least in a legal document, which is the Maryland case search records, that's a lot better than People magazine. But I just thought this was interesting, and I wanted to bring that to you. So that's just a thought I had. So I had to come back and talk about that. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. It's an educational channel, and I hope people are learning something from it. See ya. Bye.